Chapter 9.1, Measuring Length and the Metric System. Measurements are used to describe properties of length, area, volume, weight, and temperature. Every measurement consists of two parts, a number and a unit of measurement. So don't forget your unit of measurement. The results obtained from measuring length is called a linear measurement and is stated in linear units. So here are some linear units of measure in the English system. 12 inch equals 1 foot, 3 feet is 1 yard, 5,280 feet is 1 mile. A procedure used to change from one unit of measurement to another is called dimensional analysis. Dimensional analysis uses unit fractions, and a unit fraction has two properties. The numerator and denominator contain different units, and the value of the unit fraction is 1. Here's an example of some unit fractions. Now, notice when you have a fraction, as long as the value of the top and the value of the bottom are the same, then it equals 1. For example, 5 divided by 5 get my pen. Right. 5 over 5 equals 1. 2,000 divided by 2,000 equals 1. Notice that 12 inches equals 1 foot. So as long as you're dividing the same value by itself, it's going to equal 1, but our numerator and denominator can contain different units. And also notice it doesn't matter which unit, which value you put in the numerator and which one in the denominator. That's going to be determined by your problem. Okay, so once again, in each unit fraction, the numerator and denominator are equal measures, making the value of the fraction 1. Okay, let's try this. Let's say we want to know how many yards are in 5 miles. Okay, then I'm going to start with 5 miles, and because I'm going to use my unit fractions, I'm going to make this a fraction. So I always start by beginning with the number I'm given over 1. Now, I'm going to use some conversion factors. As long as I multiply by any of these, it's like multiplying by 1, so it doesn't change this value. I'm trying to change these miles into yards. So when I look up here, I don't have a conversion factor that goes from miles to yards. I do have a miles to feet and a feet to yards, so that's kind of my clue that I'm going to go through feet. So I'm going to make a unit fraction using this equation right here, okay? And I'm going to put the miles in the bottom because I have miles on top. I want them to be able to divide out and leave feet. So on the bottom, I'm going to put 1 mile, and on the top, 5,280 feet. Now, if I were converting miles to feet, I'd have it converted, right? Anything that's the same on top and bottom, you can divide out, and then I'm left with units in feet. But I wanted yards, so I'm going to continue, and I'm going to change those feet. Again, putting the feet on the bottom because the feet left here is in the numerator. 3 feet is 1 yard. The feet can divide out. I'm left with yards. That was my goal. So now all I have to do is do the math. Let's multiply straight across. I have 5 times 5,280. 5 times 5,280 is 26,400. 26,400 yards. And on the bottom, 1 times 1 times 3. So 26,400 divided by 3 is 8,800 yards. So 5 miles has 8,800 yards. By the way, our abbreviations do not have periods after them unless it's an inch. Okay? So inches, always put a period after the abbreviation. The others do not require periods after the abbreviation. Also notice that when you're converting to a larger unit, you always produce a smaller number. And when you're converting to a smaller unit, you always produce a larger number. For example, here, I started with miles and I was going to a smaller unit, so I better expect to get a larger number. Although the English system of measurement is most commonly used in the United States, most industrialized countries use the metric system of measurement. As a matter of fact, the only countries that do not are the United States, Burma, well, which is now Myanmar, and Liberia. Right? So it's kind of a huge issue. I could get on a big soapbox about this, and normally I do, but I'll try to refrain from that right now. But it's really important that we become more comfortable with the metric system. Yeah. So just kind of keep that in mind. We'll probably make another couple of comments about that. But one thing is, a huge advantage is that our units are based on powers of 10, and so it's much easier than the English system to change from one unit of measure to another. Notice our conversion numbers we had to use in the English system was 3, 12, 5,280. In the metric system, you're only multiplying and dividing by powers of 10, which in essence means all you have to do is move the decimal. If you multiply by 10, it adds a 0, or in other words, moves the decimal to the right. If you divide by 10, you move the decimal to the left. Not only that, it's very simple, as we'll see in some future sections, that it's very simple to change from one measurement system to another in the metric, and very difficult in English. Okay, the basic unit for linear measure in the metric system is the meter. And a meter is slightly longer than a yard. So again, another thing I'd like for us to get out of this is just let's have a good feel for what these metric measurements are. Right? That's one reason we have such a reluctance to change over in this country, because if someone tells me that the gas station is 500 meters up the road, I'm like, what? How far is the gas station? Oh, you mean about 500 yards? Right? So a meter slightly longer than a yard. Here are prefixes, and this isn't all of them, but these are the main ones. However, hecto, deca, deci aren't even that main. But these are our prefixes: kilo, hecto, deca, deca, centa, milla. Notice the ones that end in I. Those are all fractional parts. Let's look over here. We start with a meter, right? So 1 meter, if you call it a decameter, it's like multiplying by 10. Hecto is multiplying by 100. Kilo is multiplying by 1,000. The ones that end in I are dividing by 10, so fractional values. Deca means divide by 10, 1/10, or 0.1. Centimeter means divide a meter by 100, and millimeter, divide it by 1,000. So 1/1000th. In the metric system, the kilometer is pronounced kilometer. Okay, I know a lot of us call it kilometer, and I was guilty of that for a long time until I learned more about it. It is a kilometer, even though it really sounds like to me it should be kilometer, but a kilometer. And it's used to measure distances comparable to those measured in the English system. So a kilometer's conversion is that it's about 0.6 miles. But again, just to get an idea of what a kilometer equals, about half a mile, right? So if somebody tells you that the gas station is 10 kilometers, oh, well, I know a kilometer is about half a mile, so it's 20 miles about to the nearest gas station. Okay, so kind of keep those things in mind. Also, a centimeter is about the width of a paperclip, if you can picture a paperclip, and a millimeter is about the thickness of a paperclip. Okay, now what's important here are our prefixes. And there are other ones. You can have much larger numbers in the metric system and much smaller numbers. That's another reason the metric system is so important to scientists that use either very small numbers or very large number. Our smallest unit of measure is the inch. Imagine trying to talk about the distance between two electrons in inches. Can you imagine the fraction that would be involved there? Or if you're talking about, now we do have miles, which is pretty good when talking about the distance between stars and things, but we can even get smaller than milli down here with units like micro, nano, pico, or larger with prefixes like tera, giga, mega. Probably where you've heard all of those before are in terms of computers, right? And so that just gives our scientists easier numbers to work with. Now, if I'm working in the metric system, these are the main ones that I have to remember. So if I can remember the order of that, and there are several ways we can do that, something like King Henry danced merrily down Center, Main, or King Henry drank my Diet Coke Monday, King Henry died Monday drinking chocolate milk. Find yourself something. I was taught King Henry danced merrily down Center, Main, so that's the one I'm going to use. But find yourself something that you think you can remember, and if you can remember that little nonsense phrase to order up your prefixes, you can convert in a metric system. So for example, if I want to know 535 centimeters, how many meters that is? Well, I just start at centimeters and I move towards meters to the left, and it takes me 2 places to get there. So I come over here and I find my decimal and I move it 2 places to the left. So 535 centimeters is 5.35 meters. If I had 12.7 kilometers, and I want to know how many millimeters that is, well, I'm going from kilometers to millimeters. So I start at kilometers and move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units to the right. So I take that decimal and I move it 6 units to the right. That'll be 1, and then I'll need 5 zeros, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to fill that in. So 1, 2, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 12,700,000 millimeters is in 12.7 kilometers. Notice the numerals are all the same. The only difference is the addition of zeros and movement of that decimal. Very easy conversions in the metric system. Okay, although dimensional analysis is not necessary when changing units within the metric system, it is a useful tool when converting to and from the metric system. And here are our conversions. An inch is 2.54 centimeters. A foot is about 30.48 centimeters. A yard, 0.9 meters. And a mile, 1.6 kilometers. Or, like we said earlier, 0.6 kilometers. Let's add this to our list. 0.6 miles is 1 kilometer. Okay, so if I needed to convert 250 centimeters to yards, I've got a couple of options. Okay, I can convert my centimeters right away to inches, and then change my inches to yards. Or I can convert my centimeters to meters and then change my meters to yards. Either way, I'm gonna perhaps start with changing to meters. Okay, so I'm at centimeters. Okay, if I want to go to meters, I need to move my decimal 2 places to the left. So now that means I've got 2.5 meters. Now to actually change from the metric system to the English system, I'm going to go back to my dimensional analysis. So if I'm starting with 2.5 meters, I have a conversion factor that uses meters and yards right here. So I can put 0.9 meters on the bottom, 1 yard on top. The meters divide out, which leaves 2.5 divided by 0.9 yards, and that is 2.7, repeating actually, 2.777 yards. All right, let's see if we can do some of these conversions. But first, let me make a note to you about how important that being able to do these conversions are. If you think that using dimensional analysis to change to and from the metric system is no big deal, consider this. The Mars Climate Orbiter, launched on December 11, 1998, was lost when it crashed into Mars about a year later due to failure to properly convert English units into metric units. The price tag, $125 million. Now, being able to do your conversions, obviously, particularly if you're a scientist, is important. But imagine this. What if we didn't even have to convert? If we'd have just stuck with it all within the metric system, that fate could have also been avoided. All right, let's look at our problems. We're going to round answers to 2 decimal places when necessary. So on this one, feet to inches, feet to miles, we're in the English system, so we're going to use our dimensional analysis. Yes, you may not always have to use dimensional analysis. For example, if you know how many inches are in feet, you know that's a simple process, but we're going to, just to practice our dimensional analysis technique, we're going to do that every single time. So if I'm starting with 30 feet, I'm going to put it over 1. And then I've got a conversion unit telling me that 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So I can make a unit fraction by placing my feet on the bottom, so they'll divide out, 12 inches and 1 foot. Now the feet do divide out, and all that's left for me to do is multiply 30 times 12, which is 360, and the only units that's left up there is the inches. Let's try it again. 23,760 feet to miles. So I'm starting with 23,760 feet. I want to put it over 1. I'm going to miles. Well, I know that 5,280 feet is the same thing as 1 mile. So these units will divide out, and I'm left with whatever 23,760 divided by 5280 is, and my calculator tells me that that is 4.5 miles. All right, notice when I went to a smaller unit, I better get a bigger number. If I go to a bigger unit, I better get a smaller number. All right, same thing here, 0.75 miles over 1 to get me started. Oh, wait, I don't have a conversion factor that goes between miles and inches, so I'm going to have to go through feet. I can change my miles to feet, because I know that I was about to put the wrong one on the bottom. Right, I need my miles on the bottom, so I know that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Okay, now I'm in feet, but it's asked me to go to inches, so I'm just going to continue because 1 foot is 12 inches. And now I'm in inches. 0.75 times 5,280 times 12 is 47,520. 47,520 inches divided by 1 times 1 times 1. So divided by 1, I don't have to put. All right, now I'm converting into metric system. So what I need to know is that King Henry danced merrily down Center, Maine. And I want to go from hectometers to meters. Here's my hectometers. And to meters, then that means move the decimal 2 units to the right. Here's the decimal. 2 units to the right would be 1,630 meters. Okay, if I want to convert decimeters, also notice the abbreviation. I don't think I pointed it out, but for decameters is D-A-M, right? Deci, and to kind of help you remember, we talked about the I on the end of these. All of these that end in I are the fractional values, okay? So a couple of ways to help me remember that when I'm writing my abbreviation. That's why I know both of these are deca, and I'm going to this D because it would have a D-A-M if it was this one. And the I is just like decimilla to help me realize, oh, the D over here goes with the I at the end of the word. So I'm going from decimeters to kilometers, meaning my decimal needs to go 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the left. Well, if there's not a decimal showing, it's right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the left. Again, as a double check, I'm going to a larger unit, so my number better be smaller. Okay, millimeters to decimeters. Here's my millimeter. 2 places to the left for my decimal, so 21.96 decimeters. Look how much easier it is to use the metric system. All right, let's see what else we have. Okay, now we're going from English to metric and possibly back and forth. All right, so 14 inches to centimeters. If I'm in the English system or using the English system at all, I'm thinking in terms of dimensional analysis. So 14 inches over 1, and I need a conversion factor. Well, I know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So my inches will divide out, and 14 times 2.54 is 35.56. And I'm now in centimeters. By the way, you'll have the conversion factors that you need on your formula sheet. So that formula sheet that you printed off to use in Chapter 8, you should notice that's your conversion factors. You'll have it on the test, and you might want to use it during your homework, but a lot of the ones on the homework give the conversion factor to you right there in the problem. Okay, meters to yards. Meters to yards. So I don't have a conversion factor specifically that goes from meters to yards. As a matter of fact, the only one I know in length, we'll say, is that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So on this one, I probably want to convert these meters to centimeters or the yards to inches. Either way. I'm going to convert these meters to centimeters. So to do that, again, King Henry danced merrily down Center Main. So I'm going from meters to centimeters because that's my conversion factor I have. It means I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the right, and this will be 1,200 centimeters. Okay, so 1,200 centimeters. And to get to the English system, I know that 2.54 centimeters is 1 inch. Now, all of a sudden, voila, I'm in the English system, and I just have to go to yards. And I can go through feet if I don't know that 36 inches is a yard, or I can go directly to yards from inches. So on this one, I have 1,200 yards on top, 1,200 times 1 yard, and on the bottom, I have 2.54 times 36. Now, if I don't put parentheses around that in my calculator, it's going to give me the wrong answer. So be careful about that. Always make sure that you use the appropriate parentheses on your calculator. So now I have 13, and we're going to continue rounding to 2 decimal places, even though it doesn't say up there. I really got 0.12335, dot, dot, dot. But I'm going to round this to 2 decimal places, 13.12 yards. And remember, we said a meter's about a yard, right? A meter's a little longer than a yard. It's about 36 inches, a little longer than a yard. So when I'm converting meters to yards, I better get close to the same number. So that makes sense for there to be a little bit more yards than meters, but very close, 12 meters, 13 yards. Inches to decameters. Notice the A in there, so I know this isn't the deci, not the fractional, but deca. All right, so again, my only conversion to get me in and out of the metric system is this 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Since this is inches, I can get right to centimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and do that conversion to get me into the metric system in centimeters. So 160 inches over 1 to get me started. And since 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, I'm in the metric system. Right, 160 times 2.54 is 406.4 centimeters. But it asked me to go to decameters. So I come up here, centimeters to decameters is 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3. This is 0.4064 decameters, but if we're going to continue our rounding to 2 decimal places, we'll round that to 0.41 decameters. Now, 5 feet to meters. Well, let's change those 5 feet to inches, because I can change inches to centimeters. Get me started. I'm starting with 5 feet. I'm going 2 inches. I know that 1 foot is 12 inches. And I can just keep going to get me into centimeters. So I know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Now, voila, I'm in the metric system. And once I'm in the metric system, it's very easy to trade. So let's do 5 times 12 times 2.54 to get 152.4 centimeters. And I need to convert that into meters. So here's my centimeters. 2 places to the left, we'll convert that to meters. So 1.524 meters, or rounding to 2 decimal places, 1.52 meters. All right, what about this one? Express 96 kilometers per hour in feet per second. Ooh, I've got a couple of conversions going on there. I've got to change kilometers to feet, and I also have to change hours to second. Remember we talked about in the very first chapter, I believe, what this word per means, and that's simply a division symbol. So a mathematical way, I can write 96 kilometers per hour. Looks like this, right? That's the mathematical form of 96 kilometers per hour. So I'm just going to continue to use my dimensional analysis. I'm going to want to change the kilometers, somehow get them into the English system. So maybe I'm going to change them to centimeters. All right. Let's go from kilometers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to centimeters. So this is the same thing as moving that decimal 5 times or adding 5 zeros. Centimeters per hour. 96 kilometers or 9,600,000 centimeters. Okay, now that I have centimeters, I know that 2.54 centimeters is 1 inch. And now that I'm in inches, I know that 12 inches is 1 foot. Now that I'm in feet, I know that 5,280 feet is 1 mile. Oh, I'm not going to miles, I'm going to feet. So I can stop right there. Let me get rid of this last one. Sorry, getting carried away in the fun of it. Okay, so now I'm in feet. Okay, technically right now I'm in feet per hour. So I can multiply all this out. I'd have 9,600,000 feet divided by 2.5 times 12 hours. But I want to change the hours to seconds. So that's just continuing my dimensional analysis. You may know how many seconds are in an hour, but if you don't, I bet you know how many minutes are in an hour. So I can also say, well, 1 hour is 60 minutes. Okay, now notice I'm in feet per minute, but I want feet per second, so I also know that 1 minute is 60 seconds. Now notice what my units are. Feet per second. Perfect. All I have to do is do the math. So that's 9,600,000 feet per, now I've got 1 times 2.54 times 12 times 60 times 60. Don't forget, I've got to have all of that in parentheses, or it will not give me the right number. So let's put that in our calculator. and see that we get 87.48906, but again, rounding to 2 decimal places, 87.49 feet per second. So 96 kilometers per hour is equivalent to 87.49 feet per second. Dimensional analysis. Go try it. Let me know if you have any questions.